Hey everyone. So today I'm doing something a little bit different. Instead of doing my job searching or my budget reviews, I'm actually just going to be talking today about my top 5 expenses. And actually, you're going to get 7 of them, but my top expenses anyhow. And it is something that I think of. I don't always talk about it, even in my budget reviews, but it's always something that I have in the back of my mind of what are my top expenses? Are they going to be going up and down in the future? And what can I do to try to lower them? So I'm going to start with my top expense today, and we're going to talk about how much that is, if it's going up and down, and what I can do to lower it. But before I get into that, this is a collaboration with quite a few other YouTubers from the frugal and financial YouTuber community, and I want to go ahead and read off the names of their channels. All of them are going to be listed down in the description, so make sure you check them out. They're going to do similar things to me, but everybody has their different style, and everybody is in a different place in life, and everyone's following a different plan to pay off their debt and become financially independent. So make sure you check out each of the links and see if you would be interested in their channels as well. So we have Becky6066, Debt Free Dana, Finding Aloha, Wendy Valencia, The Budget Bounce, City Girl Living on a Budget, A Decade to Freedom, Modern Budget Curl, Go with Less, Freedom in a Budget, Sensible Living with Money Mom, Owen Your Future, and Baby Steps Brad. So guys, make sure that you go ahead and check out those links so you can see what channels I'm talking about. They're also going to be doing a video on this topic. So, to get started here, I think for most people, at least in the US, our biggest expense every month is rent. And that's true for me too. I do live in sort of a lower income area, and this is just where I happened to end up because when I used to work for the company that owns these apartments, I lived on site because I got a discount. But I ended up staying because it's so cheap even without the discount. I pay $635 a month, although I do have a flat fee of $35 a month for my water bill. And that has to be paid to the office at the same time, so I just include it. So my top expense every month is $670. Now, unfortunately, this is one expense that is going to keep going up. Uh, Fortunately, the place that I live has a policy where they only raise the rent $20 per year, and that's probably going to go into effect December 1st for me, although I've not got my renewal from them yet to know that for sure. And sometimes they raise the water $5 per year, so I'm looking at a $20 to $25 increase on top of that 670. And that really is not something that I can do much about right now. I have looked into possibly getting a roommate here, but I have a small one-bedroom apartment, and there's really barely room for me. I'm not in a relationship, so I don't have a significant other I can move in and split anything with. And I've looked at getting a roommate and either getting a place with them or moving into their place. But with the prices that I've seen, I mean, on Craigslist, I don't know where else you look for a roommate, but I really probably wouldn't be much ahead, and I may actually end up paying more if I had a roommate. The reason being, number one, I use my house as basically a storage unit because I don't care what it looks like. It's just me in here. So my dining room is full of boxes. Part of the living room is too. And for me, that saves me money because I don't pay an additional storage unit rent. But if I move somebody in here, or if I move myself into just a room of another person's house, I'm going to end up having to get storage because right now I just don't have the time with working 70 hours a week with my jobs to go through this stuff and see if there's anything I can get rid of. So the other thing with that is utilities. I'm really frugal with my utilities. I don't leave lights on in other rooms. I always turn the AC up to 80 when I leave. I just don't use very much. And in every experience that I've had when I lived with somebody else, it always aggravates me because they're not that conscious about how much they're using. So I think that overall it would probably cost me more, especially because really the rooms that I've seen for rent are maybe only $100 less per month than what I pay now. So if I would end up moving somewhere and paying moving expenses to move there, only to save $100 a month, but then maybe my utilities go up $50 or $75. It's really not worth it. So for now, I'm staying here. Number two. Number two is my car payment. Now, I just started having this car payment in January of this year. And there's a couple options as far as getting rid of this. So I wrote down all my expenses here and I put either an up or a down, showing they're pending up or trending up or down. I actually put a question mark beside this one because it depends what route I go, and that depends on a whole lot of other factors. Do I pay the difference, the $3,000 difference between what I owe on the car and what it's worth? And then, of course, where do I get that money from? And then just sell it off? Right now, I don't have any other transportation options, so that's probably not something to do right now, but maybe in the future. Do I fix the old car? And then that way, I'm putting more money into it than it's really worth, but at the same time, I basically have a brand new car at that point that would be paid off, and it'd have lower insurance because it's an older car. That's a possibility too. And then if I do that, do I try to rent out the new car on Hire Car or Turo? Or do I just sell it off and forget about it? These are all things that I'm trying to figure out. But this is a decision that's going to have to be made when I'm a little bit better off financially. For the meantime, I am still saving up the money to get the tires fixed because if nothing else, it will buy me a little bit more time. It won't take me 2 hours to commute anywhere. My next is my Navient payment. All right, so Navient payment is actually for two separate loans. One of them is a $17,000 loan and the other one's like $45,000. So very little of this payment, it's one payment taken out at one time, not two separate payments. But this payment is mostly toward that larger loan. Only about $70 of this goes to the smaller one. So the payment was $265 a month, and it's like $265 in some odd sense. It just raised, I got approved for another 6 months of the rate reduction plan, and they did raise my interest rate again, and I think the payment now is $269. I wish I could remember what they told me was the regular payment, but I think it's around $365. So what they're doing is they keep approving me through this program, but the interest rate and the payment amount both gradually increase over time. So they're kind of weaning me into paying the full payment. So that one is trending up, and my goal is just to kind of figure out some of the rest of my finances to free up other money, or of course increase my income would be great too, so that I'll be able to cover that when I do have to pay for that. And the next one is my car insurance. So as of me making this list, and I'm going to talk about a little bit how this has changed, my car insurance is $112.98 a month. And that is because I was on a commercial policy from about December of 2017 until, well, I needed it until May when I was still driving for Uber and Lyft. I'm not driving, and my struggle was that I can never get enough money together to both make the payment and make the first payment on a new, like, just regular insurance policy to get that started. I finally got that money together, got onto the lower plan. So this one not only is trending down, but has actually changed. So that is no longer even in what I consider to be my top expenses. I'm really only considering things to be my top expenses if they are $100 or more. So this is actually around $65 now per month. So that one is an accomplishment. We got rid of that one. And that leaves my next one, which is phone. I got to talk a little while about this one because I get a lot of comments about how the hell do you pay so much for your cell phone? Why? Like, that should be the easiest thing for you to cut out. And I see my bill fluctuates. It's between $103 and $109 a month for my phone. And I see on the surface that people say, oh, you can go to Cricket and get an unlimited plan for $75. Why are you paying $109? That's a waste of money. But I have taken into consideration these things people have said, and I've looked up the prices and I've crunched the numbers, and it just doesn't make sense for me to get a different phone or get a different plan. And in the future, if I get comments about this, I'm actually just going to link them to this video to explain it, because I've typed it out a whole bunch of times. But basically what it comes down to, number one, is service, because I do, well, not now, because car's not operational, but when I have an operational car, I do go home frequently to West Virginia. AT&T is the only service that works there. So I need a phone that works at home, and that's, you know, I just can't really get around that. On the Ohio side of the river, it's Verizon. On the West Virginia side, it's AT&T. Sprint pulled out of the market, and other companies such as like Intellos and Mountain Mobile, they're all in the eastern part of the state. They don't even have service in my part. So I don't have any choice but to be with AT&T. The other part of this is why my bill is so high, because some of this is, well, a lot of it actually is work related. First of all, it would be $5 less a month if I didn't pay late every month. So once I get, my finances in better order, I won't have a late fee every month on it. So I also do have a $2.99 roadside assistance plan. It was kind of redundant because I also had AAA, but my AAA membership expired in July and I haven't been able to renew it. I do still occasionally drive the car, and God forbid something happens, it's got the spare on it, so I wouldn't have another one to replace it. I wouldn't have any money to get it towed anywhere. So that $2.99 a month on the cell phone, that roadside assistance program is just a just-in-case thing for something like that. Now, if I get my finances together and I am able to get my AAA back, maybe I can do away with $2.99 a month, because AAA is a better program, although it does cost more. But that's a decision to make down the road when the car is fixed. Now, also, I don't have the prices in front of me, but I know from what I was paying before to what I pay now, my data plan increased by $13 a month back in November of 2017. And that is something where if I ever stop well, I'm not driving for Uber and Lyft, but I need unlimited data still for Lyft, because I do take 20 to 30 Uber rides a day for recruiting purposes, and that's a large usage of data. So I have to have an unlimited data plan. It also helps because I don't have internet at home anymore. I cut that out completely to save money. That extra $13 a month, even though there's some things I can't do on the phone, it allows me to do a lot more than I normally would be able to do without being connected to Wi-Fi, without worrying about racking up extra data usage charges. So we've got $2.99 for roadside assistance. We've got $13 extra from what I was paying for data, and then the $5 a month for the late fee. So those are all things that down the road we'll be able to take off there, be able to be taken care of. The biggest thing that I think most people have criticized me about is the $28, it's like $28.32 per month charge for financing my phone. Now, back in September of 2016, I was steadily, gainfully employed and had no idea what kind of financial disaster was on the horizon. So I couldn't have known what was coming up to not make this type of financial decision, and I'm not totally sure I had a choice. You see, I just recently, within the last few months, started this job and started to build up an emergency fund again. And in September of 2016, my phone died. I had an iPhone 4 that I'd had for, at least 3 years. Actually, it was more like 4 or 5. And I literally used it until it was unusable. Like, it would power on, but I couldn't even make a phone call with it. It was just messed up. And yeah, I did try some things. I took it to the Apple store. I deleted every picture off of it to try to free up memory, and it just wasn't working. So what I did is I went to AT&T, and I wanted to find out about the new plans where you can finance a phone. Now, I don't like financing anything, but they sold me because there was no interest and there's no finance fee. It's literally just the cost of the phone divided out by however many months you decide to pay for it. And I think I did not the longest plan, but the next to longest plan that I could do on that. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have a phone, period, because I didn't have any money to buy one. So I didn't have a lot of options with that, and I thankfully just found that that was a pretty good deal. There's, like I said, I got a lot of criticism about doing it that way, but I don't see anything wrong with it. There were no fees, no charges. All it did was split that amount up and add it to my bill. So like I said, it's about $28.32 a month, which that will be fully paid off in March, this coming March. So about 6 months left. And, well, not even 6 months. So that will lower my phone bill even more. So if you consider any of those things, taking the late fee off and taking that payment off, that would negate dropping to $75 for another carrier. The other thing that people don't like to consider, and even though I've explained it a lot, they just act like they don't believe me, there would also be early termination fees for a contract. And then with my credit, if I would try to go to a different carrier, I'd have a deposit, which I may or may not get back. And then I would also have to buy new equipment for that carrier, because I have, and God, it's been 6+ years since I worked at AT&T. So let me try to think of what it's even called. I know on Verizon's end it's CDMA. I can't remember what AT&T's is called, but they're two different cellular networks. AT&T's type of iPhone that I have does not work. You can't just take an AT&T iPhone and put it on Verizon or a prepaid carrier. It doesn't work that way because they're on different systems. The towers are completely different. There's actually slight variations in the phone models. So you can't just take it over like that. So I would have to buy new equipment, right? So if if the criticism is I paid $28 a month for this phone, how is it going to aid me in any way to go spend several $100s on, or, whatever the deal is at that time, to get another phone with another carrier, pay termination fees for AT&T, pay a deposit for the new carrier, just to have a bill that's maybe $20 less per month? I see on the surface why people were making that suggestion, but I wish they would listen to me when I actually lay out the data to them and say, look, it would be prohibitively more expensive for me to go with a different carrier or to get a different phone than it is just to continue the direction I'm going. Because if I just stick it out a few more months, that $28 is going to fall off there. If I get my financial shit together, that another $5 for the late fee is going to come off there, possibly the $2.99, depending on what kind of job I get, or if I get Wi-Fi back at the house or something, possibly another $13 for the data plan, which, when all that stuff is put together, that actually is far less than the carriers. Not to mention that a lot of the carriers people are suggesting, which are the low-cost carriers, are ones that don't have very good service anyway, or have capped data or something like that, which would not work for me in my jobs because I have to have unlimited data for Lyft, but also potentially some of the things I'm doing down the road. So I hope that explains the phone issue, and I apologize for that being so long. So we got two more here. So the next one is counseling. I had been paying $200 a month for counseling, $100 per session, twice a month. And this is another one of those things where I went through some really traumatic events 3 years ago. I've got a lot of problems from them. I'm trying to work on those, but quite honestly, I've got to figure out my financial situation before I can have the luxury of dealing with my mental issues. Just to give you guys a heads up, I'm dealing with quite a few things, but they're all related to complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and I'm just trying to process things and make sense of them and kind of do what I can to move past that. And that is why I started going to counseling, when I started feeling ready to talk to somebody. And This was in July, I think, of 2016. Again, I was employed. I could do this. I also had insurance, so I went weekly, and it was $25 per session. Well, I lost my insurance. Well, actually, I should say, in the beginning of 2017, my counselor actually moved to a different office, which no longer accepted my insurance. They said they would in the future, but then they ended up getting rejected by the carrier, the insurance provider. So I ended up paying $100 per session. I did drop it down to every other week, which is where this $200 came from. I, within the last 3 months, have dropped it down to once a month, making it $100. And I know I'm filming this video in advance, but this coming Monday, which will be the Monday prior to this video being posted, I have my last appointment. I have to tell her, hey, I held out as long as I can, but I know that I still need your help with some things, but I just can't do this with my budget until I find another job. And I'm just going to say this has to be it for a while. And I mean, yeah, I'm not ready. I have things I need to work on, and I hope to go back in the future, but I have to cut that $100 out of my budget. I have to. And then the last thing that I've got going on here is my credit cards. I have two of them, and roughly they fluctuate a little bit, but one of them has an $89 a month payment, and one has a $41 a month payment. Because together they are $100 or more, that's why I'm including it here on my expenses, and those are both trending down. So the plan is right now, the small credit card is $900 and some dollars that I owe on it. So any extra money that I would happen to get, of course, if it doesn't have to go to living expenses, it's going to go on that card, because I really want to get that one paid off and just done with. It's only like a $30 to $40 minimum payment per month that I'm going to get to go away, but that's the start. That's something. It's a benchmark where I have something that's not going to come back and I don't have to worry about it. And then, of course, I want to keep making, for now, the minimum payment on the larger card, and when I'm able to, throw money at that. But there's one thing that you guys probably have noticed that I'm not mentioning, and that is my food budget. And when you look at my monthly budget reviews, I have my groceries, restaurants, and fast food divided up into different ones, like separate budgets. The last few months have been a lot better about staying within my budget for restaurant and fast food. And that's a constant struggle, especially with my transportation options and sometimes how long I have to go to eat, or like go between eating. Like eat a bowl of cereal early in the morning, commute 2 hours to work an 8-hour shift, and then commute 2 hours home. I'm really tempted to eat out because I'm starving. But I'm really trying to fight that. And basically, I really am happy how it's worked out, because my grocery budget my usage of my grocery budget has increased, while my restaurant and food has gone down, and I want to keep fighting on that restaurant and food front. It's okay to me that my grocery budget is as high as it is, because I'm content with that. As long as it stays under the budget that I have set for it right now, I'm completely fine with that. Although, I did just recently discover something that I'm shocked that I didn't know before. See, I can't remember why, but for some reason I recently went to Walmart. And I cannot tell you how much I detest Walmart. Some of them are alright, but the ones near me, oh man, they're like maximum security Walmarts. They're just really bad. Anyway, they're not even open at night because of the crime. Like, that's how they deal with that here. But anyway, I cannot stand to go to these places, but I went for some reason, and I normally get the same types of foods no matter what store I go to. And I was looking at stuff, and I remember what it was. It was a 6-pack. It was these. It was a 6-pack of Diet Pepsi, like that. Meijer, Target, and Kroger are all around like $4 and something for one of those. For not for a single one, but for like a 6 pack of those. And that's a heck of a lot cheaper than buying them like at a gas station. But I went into Walmart and they're $1.98 for the 6 pack. And I start thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, how is that? That's less than half the price. So I started comparing different items. I eat Raisin Bran Crunch for breakfast every day. And then, of course, use milk for that. So I'm comparing milk prices and Raisin Bran Crunch and like the price of TV dinners and stuff. And I'm like, what? So literally, even though I hate it, Walmart is amazingly cheaper than anywhere else. And I knew that some stores were a little bit more pricey. Obviously, I don't shop at Whole Foods. I don't do anything like that. And I've always thought that like Walmart, Kroger, and Giant Eagle were kind of on the same level, although Kroger and Giant Eagle a little bit higher. But recently I was watching a video by Kristen Marie, and she said something about how much more expensive Giant Eagle is than Kroger. And I never checked that out myself, but I was like, really? Like, I never realized that. But now I'm seeing that Kroger is not like, you know, like a few cents more than Walmart. It's like $1 or $2 or $3 more for each item than Walmart. So I'm like, well, I just found a great way to reduce my, my grocery budget. So I have been, probably for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been going to Walmart to get my groceries all the time. And I do try to go to the one that's not close to my house because it's a nightmare, but I have been doing this, and we'll see, I guess, at the end of October's budget review how much that's actually reduced my overall budget income, or my grocery budget. But it will help, at least. So anyway, guys, that's it for my top expenses. That covers everything that's $100 or more per month. And of course, I'm going to keep working on these and keep identifying ways to reduce them further. I do want to say, for my top expense, my rent, I have a very, very exciting idea. It's going to take me a year to get to where I need to be to do this. But if I do this, it's going to reduce my rent to, all things included, around $300 a month, which would free up, really actually almost up to $500 or $600 a month for me to work with, because in this scenario, my utilities would also be paid. So not only would I be saving like $300 and some on rent, but my utilities, I will have none. I'll just have the cell phone bill. That's it. So it will give me an opportunity to really get caught up, and I just have to hold on until then, and try to fix some things in the meantime, of course. Eliminate some of these monthly payments to make things a little bit easier, but I can't announce it now, and I might not even be able to announce it while I'm doing it. I might have to do it afterward, because I don't want to screw up the opportunity, but I am pretty excited about this. It's been a long time since I've really taken some risks and done something that is a little extreme, but has extreme results. But I'm really happy that this is going to be coming up. And just stay tuned to the channel. You'll see, and you'll know when it's happening because you'll see it in the budget reviews, even if I don't happen to mention it. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this collab. If you would, just check out the channel description below. There's every channel that I talked about in the beginning of the video is going to be listed down there, and they are going to be doing a very similar video to this. You're going to get an inside look at their finances and what their top expenses are and what they're doing to reduce them. So make sure you check out those channels. Thank you guys for watching. I also will be filming 1 or 2 other videos today, so expect 3 videos this week. So, that's a big surprise because I know I can tend to fall behind on the channel when I'm working 70 hours a week. But hey, at least this week I've got it together. So thanks for watching, guys.